and this here may be tough to you. Snack cake to me, yeah, more hostess. This been overdue forever. Asked me when it was dropping, said never. Should've made you cut the feta, but I designed it Freemason Margiela.
What's good, Shellitronnn here, the most woke, no joking. I'm back out again with a brand new video, and I'm gonna keep it up, Bowlberry Biscuit. For the second time in 1 week, the Carolina Panthers have proven me wrong. And this time, I'm actually okay with it. I'm actually 100% okay with it. If you don't know what I'm talking about, if you haven't seen the thumbnail, if you click on this video and you did not read the title, let me show you this tweet here from Ian Rappaport. Throw it up right here. Source: former Broncos center Matt Paradis agreed to terms with the Panthers on a 3-year deal worth $27.03 million out of nowhere. Those last 3 words are very, very true. Now, I've mentioned this in my last couple videos, but it's no secret to any Panthers fan. The Panthers are not the kind of team to make very splashy moves in free agency. We have not done so in the last few years, and it even extended to the point where after the 2015 season, the team didn't even re-sign Josh Norman. Even when he said he would come back on the franchise tag for a year, David Gettleman, our former GM, did not let him come back. And that's really the beginning of what I saw as a very weird time for the Panthers every year in free agency. Now, last year we made some pretty good moves, but those guys that we picked up ended up being backup kind of guys, or guys who just ended up getting injured either in training camp or in the preseason, and we never got to see them in the regular season. Still haven't heard any word from the team about, Ross Cockrell and Denora Cersei yet, but there is a chance they could be healthy and good to go for next season. Who knows? But enough about that, because I want to focus in on this news about Matt Paradis. This is huge news. 3 years, $27 million. I think it was, what, $11 million on the first year? Yo, that is crazy. Now, first of all, this $27 million is not all guaranteed. I have no clue the actual guaranteed amount is. Probably something like 20, maybe something like 21. I don't know what it's going to be. I'm sure it's going to be bonuses like performance bonuses, can make the Pro Bowl. Will he allow less than a certain amount of pressures on the quarterback? Maybe it's going to be a workout bonus, because we do know he was injured. I think after 9 games of the season last year, he fractured or just broke his fibula, I believe it was. And I heard it was a clean break, and all reports are saying he's ahead of schedule. Just this tweet here from Joe Person says, Paradis told NFL Network that he is ahead of schedule in recovery from his fractured fibula, which sidelined him for the last half of 18. Expects to be fully cleared by June, which should have him ready for training camp. And this isn't a news story. I think even early February, he came out and said he was ahead of schedule for his fibula break. And keep it real, that is really good news to hear. But for me, hearing a guy coming back from injury isn't as bad when I hear it's a bone injury and not like a ligament injury in the knee or like an Achilles injury or like a back injury, that kind of thing. Having a bone break in the leg is much less concerning than like a knee or back injury for a lineman, but it's still really encouraging to hear that he's ahead of schedule and he should be able to go. Where do I start with Matt Paradis? I mean, the impact he'll have on this team is borderline boundless. Look, for the past 2 years, the team's already known that 2018 will be the last season for Ryan Khalil's NFL career, and Ryan Khalil had been for the longest time a staple. One of the leaders, one of the best, one of the more impactful players on the offensive side of the ball. Ryan Khalil has had a huge impact, not only as a protector of Cam, but as a leader on the field, in the locker room, putting out pressures and whatnot. And Carolina picking up Matt Paradis really might have been the best move to make. Now, everyone, including myself early on, really wanted an edge rusher, really wanted maybe another receiver, maybe even a safety or a nickel corner. But if you really think about it, the team investing in continuing to have a really strong presence at that center position in the middle of the line, the anchor of that line, having a guy who's been through the ringer might have actually been the most important move we could have made here. This man, Matt Paradis, might not really be a veteran, but in his young 5-year career, this man's been through it all. He was a 6th-round pick, got signed to the Broncos, didn't play a single game his rookie year, was put on the practice squad, then was put on the reserve/future contract, then got a 1-year deal for $500,000, then got another 1-year deal for 1.9, I believe it was. Maybe it was actually $2.9 million. This man has had to work up and bet on himself every single year. Every single year of his career, he's had to beat the odds. As a guy who was really not ever expected to be that big name guy on the squad, he's beaten the odds. He's proven just about everyone wrong and himself right at every turn. He anchored the O-line in 2015 when the Broncos won the Super Bowl against a really good team, a great team, honestly, a borderline perfect team. Who did they beat that year? I forgot which team lost that year, but they beat a borderline, top 10 ever team in NFL history. Let's call it what it is. And then in 2016, he followed that year up by only scoring a 97.9 from Pro Football Focus and was rated the #1 center in the league. In 2017, I guess the Broncos still hadn't seen enough from him, and they only signed him on his exclusive rights tender, which only paid him $615,000 that year. Smart business move, but you see what the man can do. You should have locked him up. And he performed in 2017 as well, a 75.2 from PFF, but it still put him among the best centers in the league. And last year in 2018, the Broncos put another tender on him, a second-round tender, which is kind of high, but still didn't give him a contract, ended up getting injured. This man has performed at the top of his game for several years straight and was getting what I would call borderline disrespected by the team that drafted him by continuing to tender him, continuing to give him one-year deals, continuing to bet against him, saying, okay, maybe, you had a good year last year, but, maybe you won't have the same kind of year next year. Okay, you did have another good year again last year. There's only 2 straight, though. Can you do it 3 straight years? Ends up getting injured. The Panthers recognize that talent. We signed him to a deal. This is a great deal for the Panthers. And not just because Cam has a guy that he knows off rip he can trust. Not just because we have a guy on the team who can demand that kind of respect he deserves. Based off of his track record, based off his history, he demands that kind of respect in the locker room. You see what he's gone through. But also because it opens up the options in the draft. No longer does the team have to pick up a center in the draft, and it opens up a lot of different possibilities, especially earlier on in the draft. There was a lot of question marks for the team as to what were the biggest needs? Was it an edge rusher? Was it a safety? Was it maybe a center? What about a left guard? What about a left or right tackle? What will the team do in the draft, especially if they don't do anything in free agency? And I think we answered a really big question here. The Panthers had a backup center in Tyler Larsen, who everyone was pretty high on, and people were even questioning maybe he can actually step in and be the center for next year if we don't get Bradbury or, maybe something else happens. But I'm starting to think maybe with Matt Paradis at center, can Tyler Larsen play left guard with Trey Turner at right guard, and now we only have to really worry about left and right tackle? Maybe we try to see what Taylor Hearn or Taylor Moton can do. But the fact still remains that whether we put Larsen or Taylor Hearn at left guard for next year, the interior part of the line is pretty solid. If we put Taylor Moton at right tackle, he's performed pretty well so far when he's gotten opportunities. And if he needs the help, we can put a tight end there. We may even sign a backup running back to spell for Christian McCaffrey, but who's also really good in pass protection as well. So he can get a bump in if someone ever does come in. Put him on the side where the pressure's coming from. And we could have some really great protection. It opens up options in the draft to pick up maybe a safety, maybe a nickel corner a little bit earlier, because we all know that with O-line being such a big issue. And while the draft is pretty deep for the trenches on both sides of the ball, you don't want to really try to risk finding your starter level talent in the 4th round of the draft. You want to find that kind of earlier. So if you have less positions to actually worry about in the draft, then you might be more willing to say, 2nd round, we do need a left tackle, but we can probably find that in the 3rd round. We can go best player available between a left tackle maybe and a safety or a nickel corner. There's a lot of things the team can now do. You know what? I'll say it again. I was wrong. I was wrong, and the Panthers have proven that they are flexible and that they are willing to open up that wallet. Matt Paradis, welcome to Carolina, bro. We are excited to have you, man, and I know he's going to be healthy, ready to go for next year. And just one last thing before I end this video, I want to let you guys know that tomorrow, the 13th, I will be doing a live stream here on this channel with my very first mock draft of this offseason. But the twist is I'm going to be drafting based on what I see the most suggestions of in the chat. So I want to see you guys out there and give me suggestions and let me know what kind of guys you're looking at, because I know who I would pick, in the first 2, maybe 3 rounds. But when it gets to around 4, round 5, I ain't going to front. I'm not really all that aware of the 5th round, 6th round guys. So it's going to be a really interesting chance to see where the Panthers fan base head is at. And at the same time, I can learn some stuff from you guys about some of these other picks, some of these guys that I know you guys are focusing on. I know it's kind of hard to know about every single player in the draft, especially when it gets to those later rounds, But I think it'll be a really good experiment. Then I'll have my own mock draft that I'll drop on the 14th. So if you have the time, you want to join in tomorrow around 8 o'clock, make sure you're subscribed. Make sure you hit that bell icon, because YouTube sometimes does not notify every single subscriber when you go live for your videos. It's kind of weird, I know. But if you hit that bell icon and you have your notifications on, it will alert you. You can be part of the experiment and have your voice be heard, if you're down for that kind of thing. What are your thoughts on this move? Was this move good, great, or perfect? There are no other options other than those 3. I can't even fathom anyone thinks this is a bad move. With this move coming so early in free agency, Do you think the Panthers are going to be poised to make another move? Maybe a nickel guy, maybe a safety, who knows? It could be anything at this point. How do you think this affects the way the Panthers draft? Let me know in the comments below, man. And you already know to do that like button.
Cheers to you, appreciate the chance. Being told y'all I been the man. Being told y'all I had the gift. Tell a friend to tell a friend. Real ones gonna recommend. Count this as another win.